hold on, let me start. Okay, we're now recording. So you can say it you can say it as many times as you want and I'll just pick the best one.
Let me just make some notes.
Yeah, perfect.
Conversation, right?
Yeah, conversations.
All right, let's do it. Hi, this is Leo from Pain and Salvation. You're watching Conversation with Vin and Sori.
Yep, there you go. You want to try it one more time?
Do you think it's necessary?
It was a little tiny choppy. Try it just one more time while we're waiting.
All right. Hi, this is Leo from Pain and Salvation, and you're watching Conversation with Vin and Sori.
There we go. That one is a bit better.
All
okay.
Right. I'm terrible at these things. I always feel like, just saying the simple things are so weird. I don't know.
No, believe it or not, there's not been one person that we've done it with that hasn't struggled through it. Everybody's always like, well, sometimes we do it like 8 or 9 times. So
all right. I guess we're all amateurs in the business, right?
Well, I think it's because when something's like decided what you have to say and you're not expecting it, it's a little bit more weird.
Yeah, probably.
Let me call him. He had an emergency at work. I honestly didn't think he was going to do this interview.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if it's easier for you guys to do it somewhere else, I mean, all the time, it's also fine for me.
He's like a soldier. When something bad, especially if it's as terrible as what happened, it usually makes him just want to just focus in on work and,
All right.
He's coming right now. So.
All right.
So.
I'm sorry about the color of my screen. I mean, it's absolutely terrible, but it's so dark in here. I'm not at home right now, so I have to make do with what I have. So.
Oh, that's okay.
Purple, that's so weird, but it's like the best I can do.
That's okay. That's all right. Don't worry about it.
All right.
We're happy with any interviews that we get. Also, when we're recording, there's a camera. Like, I don't use the camera from my computer because the cameras aren't on the computer are not that great. So I have a camera just behind. So you might be looking at that camera. We're still talking to you, but
yeah.
We'll flip it in for a better picture. So
sure.
And I think that's pretty much it. Now we're just waiting for him to come on in and
all right.
How much time do you have?
As much as you need.
Okay. We usually try to keep it, under 30 minutes. So
all right.
Take up too much of your time.
No, it's totally fine. I'm done for the day. So
is it lonely at the hotels?
Actually right now I'm in a small house. Well, it's not that small anyway, but I play in a ski resort with the cover band.
Oh, cool.
Like we play for après skis, so we play from 4 to 5 p.m. So the rest of the day is free, so that's pretty cool. So we have a house at our disposal with the rest of the band. We're 3 guys.
Do you ski?
No, I don't. Hey, Vin.
Hey, Leo. What's up, my man?
I'm good. How about you?
Very good. This is going to be one of our favorite interviews. I can tell already.
Cool. Hopefully. I hope I won't disappoint you then.
No, man. I can't. I good on you for setting it up. Let's see. This is, feel like I know you guys. Just listen to that whole record.
I know.
The same for me. You know what? I mean, I've been watching lots of videos from you guys, so it's like, I feel like we know each other. It's so weird.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. Wow. Did we set everything set up?
Everything's all ready, so we're ready to start. And again, okay. Leo, I'm recording this and I can cut out anything. So if you say something that you're like, whoa, yeah, I shouldn't have said that, just let me know and I'll clip that out for you.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to start this.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
Are we on mute?
No.
It says
what?
Mute.
What do you mean?
Mute over there. Can you hear us?
No, it's just.
I hear you.
Oh, I see.
I didn't know how to set that thing up because you usually do that.
Yep. Okay, let's do it. Ready?
Okay.
I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And I'm Leo from Pain of Salvation.
Yes.
Leo
very
from
exciting.
Pain of Salvation.
Very, very exciting day for us.
Yeah. So we have a Patreon tier where you can invest some money and ask for a specific song to be listened to.
Yes.
And that's how we initially found this band.
Yeah, that one of the guys from our village, his name is Alan, and he started us from the beginning to the end of the record. He just kept jumping on that tier every single month, so that way he could get it, so that we could listen to the entire album.
Yeah,
it was pretty crazy. Yeah.
How
expensive as well, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not cheap.
No.
How would you? So Leo, what do you tell everybody what you do in the band, and then we'll go from there.
So I play the drums in the band. I've been a drummer of the band for like 12 years, I think. Yeah, pretty much. I think, you know what? I think today is the 12th year anniversary of my first gig with the band, to be honest.
Oh, that's so cool.
I
always get
think so. Or no, I think, or is it the anniversary when I moved to Sweden? I'm not sure anymore. But it's an important date anyway.
We're gonna go with the first gig.
Yeah. It sounds better, right?
Oh, you moved to Sweden and you joined the band on the same day.
You're an amazing
the same day, right? It was a magical day. No, but yeah, so I've been in the band for 12 years. I'm from France from the start, and I moved to Sweden then 12 years ago for the band's sake when I got the job. And I also sing in the band, so I mostly sing like harmonies and such, and the occasional lead live when we try to share a little bit with Johan, the other guitarist, and almost so sometimes when we're part of the writing process with the band with Daniel, the lead singer.
Yep.
But for the latest album, he's been doing pretty much everything on his own. I mean, when I mean the latest album is the album ongoing now. We are writing and recording, so this is not released yet. But
cool. That's cool.
Is Passing Light of Day the most recent record you guys had out?
Yes, it's the most recent one. It was from it was released in 2017, I think, if I'm remembering correctly right now.
Yeah, I think I called it the best record of 2019, and that's because that's when we were in.
Discovered. Yeah. It's still a very good compliment, so it doesn't matter the year.
How would you define the genre of metal that your band is?
It's a pretty tough question, right? I mean, we've been called like progressive metal all over all 3 years, and I guess it makes sense somehow. But I guess back when the band started in 20 years ago, I think at least it's got to be way more than that. 25, 30 years, I don't know, it doesn't matter. But when the band started, it was way more progressive, like in the Dream Theater vein, maybe. I mean, I don't really like comparing to other bands because it doesn't really sound the same, but it had more similarities than what we do anyway right now. But I know that Daniel usually hated the term prog metal when it was for us, because I guess it's too generic somehow, and he likes to have like a unique thing. And I think we do have a unique sound and unique approach with music in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we're just a mixture of like many different things. But I guess prog metal is okay for me. I mean, I don't mind the term.
Well, that's one of the things that constantly hit me, whether vocally or certain sections or certain transitions. It's like, we've listened. Somebody asked me yesterday, how many songs have you guys reviewed? I said, I don't know, probably 1,300. And after a while, you start, okay, this guy, you're going to go here, and this is what, and it's like, nope, we're going over there. Whether it's a weird bass drum section or something. Yeah. But the thing is, it works, because the other thing is, we've listened to so many bands, and like, no disrespect, like they're great, but it's just they're trying to do. You could tell they're trying to do something different.
Yeah.
Right, like versus this band is different.
Right.
That's not the same thing.
It doesn't seem like you guys are trying so much. It just seems like you guys are doing.
You guys are just different. Period. Full stop.
Well, thank you.
So there's a lot of pressure for your next album.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you will like it. I mean, I don't know about the lyrics yet because Daniel is still writing them. But the music I know because I recorded all the drums already, like in September. And while it's still a bit different than The Passing Light of Day, it's still Pain and Salvation.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think all of our albums are very different from one to another. And it's like the sound is different, the production is different, the style is different even, but you still recognize, the vibe and the sound of Pain and Salvation, even if the sound is different, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
The sound.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be pretty interesting. I'm very curious myself about, you know, what is gonna be in the end, because when I do the drums, I have the guitars, you know, with me, like the demo guitars, and I have some keyboards, and I have like the bare minimum for the song, but usually there's no vocals.
Wow.
There are no like definitive arrangements or such. So it's pretty, like, it's gonna be a mystery. I mean, it's still a mystery for me. And so, I heard 3 or 4 songs that are done by now, I think.
Yep.
But the rest is still, like, I have no idea. So
oh wow.
I'm very curious.
So you're looking forward to the release of the new album as well.
Yeah.
As we all are.
Yeah, right. Because I guess I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, all right. I was about to say, for this album, it's been a bit different. Previous album, The Passing Out of Day, was recorded, composed by Daniel and Ragnar, our previous guitarist. So they wrote the music together back in, like, I don't know, 15 or 16, doesn't really matter anyway, right? But they wrote the music together, and Daniel wrote the lyrics. And the previous albums, I mean, the albums before that, then we had like a band effort. It was like a jam session. We were all in the rehearsal room and played together, and, you know, like, even though Daniel came up with most of the riffs and everything, we still built the song together.
That's cool.
But this one, he did everything on his own. Like, you know, he sent us like the demos with like the main structure, and basically everything was already done except for the vocals and, you know, like some of the structure, the form. But I mean, yeah, it's still very, like, new for me, this album, and I don't know how it's going to be in the end. So that's pretty exciting.
I think that, I mean, obviously I don't know what the topic is for this new album coming out, but In the Passing Light of Day, that one was it was heavy, like the topic, you know, and I think that it's cool that you guys did jam sessions together because of what the topic was. It's like, I don't know, such a difficult time. And then to think, oh, you guys got together to like work through the music of that, just, I think makes that like way more special.
That said, I was talking about the album before The Passing Light of Day, when we had the jam sessions. But so they did have jam sessions with Ragnar. I think that's how they composed the music. Daniel was sitting behind the drums, and Ragnar was playing the guitar, and that's how they built the song together. So it's still some part of jams, I guess. They have, you know, like, probably Ragnar had lots of riffs, guitar riffs, and they, you know, like, showed that to Daniel and found some drum parts on top of that, and the other way around. So some songs, like Meaningless, for instance, were completely written by Ragnar, I think. It was even like, he used to play that with his old band. Well, I mean, it's still his band, but it was his old band back then. Fine. And but yeah, so unfortunately for Passing Out of Day, I didn't have anything to say when it came to writing the music.
Well, I mean,
which is maybe the best. I don't know, but
he was really putting his experience out there of what he had gone through. So, I mean, how can we relate to that if we haven't had that experience?
No, that's true. But, you know, I think there's still 2 different paths when it comes to writing the music and writing the lyrics. And I understand that for the lyric process, you know, there's nothing I can really say or write or do for him, because that's his own experience. But when it comes to music, I think everybody can always, you know, bring something new, or even if it's just a detail here and there.
Right.
Yeah.
Or even like putting in like your feelings of what you saw him go through the music.
Yeah, absolutely. That could be a thing. But I have to say, I am absolutely terrible when it comes to writing lyrics. So it's better that he does it on his own, to be honest. But I'm a good drummer, so, you know, I can't have everything. He has everything, I don't.
So how did you hear of the opening for the drummer? So the band's been around for 20 years. You've been there for 12, which means they had at least a previous drummer for 8. How did you hear about the opening? Did you audition? What were you in a previous band?
So the story is actually pretty funny. So I'm from the south of France, which is about, let's say, from Sweden, it's, I don't know, it's like California and, you know, East Coast, West Coast in the States. So it's pretty far. Different language, obviously. Everything is different. It's north. I'm from the south. But I used to be a huge fan of Vin and Sori. I would follow them on tour a little bit, driving around in France and Spain because it was close for me. And I first saw them opening for Dream Theater in 2002 in Barcelona, and then I have never heard about them back then. And I was really like, I was pretty impressed with the live performance. I was just like, whoa. So I bought all the albums after that. And in 2007, I think, when they released the album Scarsick, I went to Paris. I drove to Paris to see them, which is like a 7-hour drive. And so that was great. I was like, oh, that's fantastic. Like a kid. I was a kid back then, though, but I felt more like a kid, like I was. And a couple of months after that, my best friend sent me an email, or he called me, I don't remember, but he told me, did you see Pain and Salvation are looking for new drummers? Like, I was, oh, okay, and what does it have to do with me, really? It's like, well, they have this, application online, so you can just, anybody can apply. And I was like, well, sure, why not? But I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, they will get a Swedish drummer, someone who lives around them, and of course, when you're a fan of a band, you always think they're way bigger than they are in reality. For me, I was like, they have, they can choose pretty much anybody they want. But I was like, what the hell? I mean, I have nothing to lose, so let's send my application. So I sent a few demos, and I sent, a letter, and, I answered a few questions. And a few months after that, so we're now it's summer 2007, so only a few months after I saw them in Paris, I was playing in a festival in France called Hellfest, which is pretty big. It's like one of the biggest, I think, in Europe, at least.
Yeah.
And Pain of Salvation was also playing there later the same day, which was very lucky. So, I had the artist pass, which, for me was feel like a very good opportunity to go meet them in the backstage, because, otherwise it's impossible. A festival with so many people. So I actually went there, all shy and all timid, and my English was so bad back then. And I was like, approaching your idols was very, very intimidating. But I went there, and I approached Daniel, and I was like, hey, my name is Leo, with my French accent, but then my name is Leo, I am a drummer, and I would like to play with you, maybe, like this kind. And he was like, yeah, no, man, I remember you. It was like you were the one sending like the jazz demos and all this like different stuff. And I was like, well, maybe, I couldn't believe he could remember me. I was
he
like,
rememred you. That's crazy.
Yes, like, I'm from the south of France. I'm a farmer from the south of France. There is no way you can recognize me from anything, And he was like, no, man, that's great. You play fantastic. You were really like in our top choices, but you don't live in Sweden. And, I told him, well, for me, that's not an issue. I mean, I'm not married. I don't have any kids. Of course, I have my family in France. I have my friends. I have tons of bands and everything. But I mean, an opportunity like that, I would be an idiot not to take it if I have the chance to do it. And he was like, well, but, you have to consider moving to Sweden. I mean, it's cold, and, it's dark, and, it's pretty tough, and the language and everything. And I was like, well, I mean, if it doesn't work, I can always come back. I was like, all right, let me think about it, and we will contact you. And when someone tells you, well, we'll call you back, it's like, sure, all right.
Yeah.
But a couple of weeks or months after that, I got another email, and then it was like, well, all right, so we, if you're still interested, you could fly to Sweden and play for the audition. So we have four Swedish drummers and you, because you were really like, in our opinion, better than everybody else. But, we still need to make sure that it's, if you have to move to Sweden, that you're going to fit in the band as well, not only musically, but
you were obviously better than everyone else.
I guess I was, since I got the job, right? But so I flew there in the middle of the summer, and of course, they sent me first like a couple of songs to prepare, which I, worked my ass to. I knew all the songs already before, obviously, because I was a fan. So it was not like I had to, discover new songs and like learn the things. I was just like, I knew them, but I really, really practiced every day, like several hours, which I was used to back then anyway, because I was still young and, like hungry to be the best one. I gave up on that dream, but anyway. So I prepared myself very well. I flew there, and I ended up, one of the guys picked me up at the airport, and I was like, oh, Jesus, hi, like very shy. But, it went super, super easily. I mean, we had a barbecue before the audition, and then we played, and, we jammed, and everything was super, super easy. The only thing, they were filming a documentary back then as well. And, so I had like cameras like filming me super close, and again I was to start with very shy. the playing was not a problem, but just talking to the camera was for me like, ooh. First, the English, still I felt like very embarrassed to speak English because I couldn't very well back then. And well, just the pressure of being, surrounded by people I've been like worshipping, and suddenly, I'm in the middle of them and I have to, make a good impression.
Yeah, people have no idea. Like, that's one of the biggest things. Like, people like, oh, how do I start a channel? Yada, yada, yada. People have a very hard time just being in a room by themselves looking into a camera, much less. God.
Yeah, no, I don't think I could do it, to be honest. Sometimes, people ask me, can you record a small video, like a short video with like, say hi to whatever. And I'm like, I think holding my phone. I feel like so stupid, so hard. So,
Leo, please report a small thank you to Alan.
But talking through the camera is fine. Nowadays, I'm way more comfortable. It's just I have no issue doing it. But yeah, sorry. So the end of the story said then, the audition went super well, and I went home, and then it was like, yeah, all right. So I'll contact you. And then I think at least 3 months passed without any answer or anything. So I was like, well, it's done for me. It's not gonna happen. But I got a great time. So, but then he called me. He was like, well, okay, if you're still interested, you got the job. So all right. So a couple of months after, I put the drums in the car, and I moved to Sweden.
Wow.
I drove all the way, like 3,000 kilometers or something.
Did you feel at the end of the audition that you had gotten the job? Did you feel that you had done?
I think what I felt is that even if I didn't get the job, that would not be because I didn't play well.
Okay.
And I think for me, that was the most important thing, because it's okay to fail such a thing, but not because you're not well prepared. You know what I mean? Because if you go there, like you're not prepared, you play like, what's the word in English now? You're, well, you don't play well, it's not 100%, or you should be like prepared 200%. So even if you're not at your best, you're still at 120%. So I would have been very, very mad at myself for failing because I was not ready for it.
Right.
And I think I was. So, so I didn't know really, because I didn't know about the other guys playing. I didn't meet any other people there. So I didn't know, if maybe some of them were extremely good, maybe some of them were famous, or, already had a name for them. And, it's always like a plus, a bonus for a band, maybe if you have someone that's already famous. So I had no idea really, but I felt like I would not be disappointed at myself for playing bad anyway.
Well, I think that's an important, when you talk about the preparation, that's important, because the way you got into the band is like a movie, right? Like this is
right.
Band, I know, right? Yeah. And then you end up in their documentary.
Right.
Like even if you didn't make it in, you made it in their documentary.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I can assume some young people who have the dream, they're like, oh, maybe that can happen to me. I'll get a lucky break. But it wasn't that you got a lucky break. You were prepared. You had listened to all the records. You had tracked all the records. And so when the opportunity came, you were able to take advantage of it as a prepared person.
Yeah.
And then you kind of had this mentality of, okay, whether or not I get selected, I'm going to practice to 200% so that if I'm not at my regular best, I'll still be.
Oh, yeah.
I just think people need to hear that, because a lot of times, especially when you hear stories like you, it's like, oh, he got lucky and I'm not going to get lucky. It's like, well, there's a phrase that says fortune favors the prepared.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I really believe that, like, if you want to do something and if you're meant to do something, that it's going to be there for you. You're going to get an opportunity, but 9 out of 10 of us are generally not prepared when that moment comes. And I think that that's a difference between, living the dream, as it were, versus that. What do you think about that? Do you agree, disagree? Talk to us.
No, absolutely. I agree completely, because, and obviously I do, because for me, I think it's like with English, in France, most people are very bad at English, and we have this bad reputation all over the world about, being terrible at English. And it's true. I mean, most people are bad. But the problem is, most people coming to France think that we refuse to speak English because we're too proud, or because we hate England and English and everything. which for me is bullshit. I think most people can speak English because they never care to learn. And I have so many friends, like drummers, guitarists, great musicians that are like, you know, some of the best I've ever heard and played with. And they lost so many opportunities because of that. Like when we were searching for a new guitarist a couple of years ago, or it was like, Jesus, it's like almost 8 to 9 years ago now. Time flies. But anyway, so I had a very good guitarist friend in France. You know, I invited him to the audition, and he couldn't speak English, not a word, or very, very badly, way worse than the first time when I met the band, because I mean, I was not good, but I could still, you know, understood what they were telling me, and I could speak, like, you know, I could say what I had to say, but he couldn't. And how the hell are you going to manage to get a job, an important career, if you're not able to speak English with the rest of the world? So that's, you know, that's one step further, or one more thing that you need to know, I think, that's important for you, for your career, to be prepared for. So you have, of course, the music. And when it comes to music, when I was a kid, you know, I started playing the drums when I was like 3 or 4, I think. And I did all sorts of studies and like conservatories and all that. So I was practicing all the time from 4 to 8 hours a day, all my youth, until I was 25, maybe, pretty much until I moved to Sweden. But I mean, for me, I really wanted to be ready for anything, because I knew that's where I hoped anyway, at some point, one opportunity would present itself, and I needed to be ready for that. And I needed to be, you know, I needed to be ready to play anything, whatever, you know, anybody would ask me to play, that I could do it. When I prepared for that audition, we played, I had 3 songs to play. One of them was, back then for me, was really tricky, because there's a stupid double bass drum pattern. And, you know, so I practiced that at every speed possible, super slow, super fast. I practiced starting with the right foot, starting with the left foot.
Oh, wow.
Mixing things. I even, in the end, I was so comfortable, I even, you know, like read newspapers like out loud while playing the thing, just to, you know, to make myself detached from the thing, to be able to just, whatever happens, I can play the thing. So yeah, I guess for me, it is important to be very well prepared when you have to represent yourself for anything really in life, you know, regardless if it's music or work or.
You do some vocal harmonies while you play live, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
What was that a dynamic that they had prior to you? Could the previous drummer sing and play as well?
I think Johan, the previous drummer, used to sing. He had a pretty low range though, and I have a very high voice. So actually, Dan was pretty happy about that, because because suddenly, you know, he can rest a little bit on me sometimes.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Like going to the point where you're reading a newspaper and playing at the same time, like that. Every single band that we've talked to, like they're a group of people who are just like obsessively, you know, about honing their craft. I just think that's very important.
I definitely think so. I think that, you know, some people are upset because they never made it into a band, but they never took it to that level. Like, you got to be the best.
Yeah,
you have to make it so that way. And you thought it through. And I didn't even think that you could start with different feet and still land with the same thing. Like, I can't even imagine doing that.
And then the added pressure of, on top of that, you got to learn English, which of course, we're kind of privileged. All we know is English. But I've been in other contexts where if you don't know the language, man,
you're in trouble.
Yeah.
A lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I had to learn Swedish as well.
Well, that's true. So now
that's right.
Wow. Yeah. How good are you speaking Swedish?
Very good, I think.
Nice.
So you're just a special guy, man. He's not gonna say it, but you're a special guy. Look, very, very generous with your time.
Oh, I have one more question though.
Well, there's 2 or 3 questions.
Oh, okay.
No, I have no problem staying as long as you need, guys. So.
Oh, okay.
Good. Okay, so ask. Go
ahead.
Ask
mine is like, when I listened to that album, you know, I just couldn't even believe what Daniel went through. And so, like, was he was playing while he was going through all of that still? Or did he restart playing after things got situated? Or
I think he had a guitar with him at the hospital.
Yep.
I'm not sure how well he could play, because he was, you know, in pain, extreme pain, and under morphine most of the time, so he was completely high. and he got, I don't know, I think he had surgery every second day or something.
Jeez.
So it was during the time at the hospital. Maybe he would take the guitar once in a while and maybe, like play a few things, but yeah, it was definitely not, as far as I know anyway, it was definitely not something like, technical. And maybe he had already the ideas about some songs and the lyrics. Definitely, I guess that he probably had a block,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. He must have been doing the lyrics. So from you guys' perspective, like, I mean, what were you guys thinking? Were you thinking maybe I should start looking for another job opportunity? Or were you guys like, let's stick it out here and, and just hope everything.
No, I think everybody was just very anxious that he, first that he would survive.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know until the end. We had no idea if we would survive or not. So, and I have actually a quick, quite funny story about when he got sick. So he was, he was like 11 in the evening or something in the middle of January, I think, winter, like very cold and snowy everywhere. And his wife called me. And she was like, Daniel he's in pain. His back is very sore, and he's been, taking a lot of medications, and he's been drinking a lot of alcohol to try to numb the pain. But I want him to go to the hospital. So can you come here and pick him up and drive him to the hospital? I was like, of course I can. But he lives like about 10 miles away from the city, in the middle of nowhere. So I drove there, picked him up, and on the way back to the hospital, on the way from his house to the hospital, it was very slippery on the road, and we got into a car crash.
Oh no!
Yeah, it was not that bad, but I just ended up in the ditch, and somehow the car like slided up and ended up on the other side of the ditch.
How are you in those situations?
I was like, I'm not a good snow and ice driver. I was not anyway back then. And, so I lost control of the car. The rear of the car starting to move away, and I lost control. And then he was like, oh no, not that as well.
Oh, poor guy. That's so terrible.
So the thing is, we ended up on the other side of the ditch, and that's a miracle. The car had basically nothing, but I lost a tire. So the tire was out of the wheel, out of the rim. So I had to change the tire, and it was minus 11 back then. So in Celsius, I don't know how in Fahrenheit, it was like cold. I don't know, way below freezing temperature anyway. So I had to change the wheel.
Celsius?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I managed to fix the car and drove him to the hospital. And then, he was like, no, but I'm fine. It's going to be better tomorrow. They're going to give me some medicine. And then in the morning, I think his wife told us that they took him directly for surgery, and they had his murder bacteria, or whatever it's called in English, in his back. And the prognosis was like, we don't know what's going on, and he might not survive. And I was like, what?
Wow.
So, no, we didn't think that we should search for another job right away anyway.
What? Well, that was kind of because I, we're going back and forth in email, and you're like, oh, you probably want to talk to Daniel, and I definitely want to talk to him at some point. But I actually thought it was actually more interesting to be able to talk to one of you guys because talking to, it's kind of like I kind of know what Daniel felt because of how
the lyrics,
he wrote those lyrics.
Right, yeah.
But when you're in a band, and you probably in a band for 4, 5, 6 years at this point.
Yeah.
Everybody's growing close. I mean, you guys are so close that the wife calls and says, "Hey, Leo."
Yeah.
They want you to be the one to take him to the house. So, what is it like? Somebody that you've grown to know. First you admired him, and then you grew to know him. I'm sure you grew to love him, and you're playing together, and all the ups and downs that a band has. What is it like to hear that, hey, one of your brothers, he may not survive? You're not even thinking, hey, he's got back problems, blah, 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 alcohol, they'll give him some pain meds, he'll be okay.
You know what? I think.
Wait. The other camera. Sorry. Let me just
Yeah.
Cut off.
It's okay because it'll just go to this picture for a bit and it'll come back.
Perfect.
So it'll be fine.
Okay. So what is that like that your brother is in that situation for you?
I'd say honestly, for me back then, I didn't believe it. I think there's this sort of denial that you feel. It's like, no, it's not happening for real. It's, it will survive. It will be fine. And maybe it's the power of positive thinking. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, and when we visited him at the hospital, it was tough because he was really bad. Then, it's like, oh, maybe it is going to happen. Then you start doubting, but at the same time, it's like, nah, it's impossible. I mean, he's too important somehow to die like of such a thing. And at the same time, it's stupid to think like that because, nobody's protected from anything. This kind of thing happen and that's it. But I think I was always like refusing to believe he could die somehow. And I don't even think the idea has, like crossed my mind at some point. I was always thinking like, he's not the kind of person to give up. So he will fight as much as he can anyway. And so I think he's gonna survive, and I think I think it's all good. And
Wow.
I think the worst time was the beginning probably, because then it was real, like everything was insecure. But then he didn't feel better, but at least he was like, he could talk, and he was like aware, and he was himself, always being like his usual self, like joking away things, instead of being serious. He's always like that. He can't be serious. Well, I mean, he's very serious in his head, but it's hard to have to go through the shell with him sometimes. He's always making jokes about everything. But I guess that's his way of coping about like problems, and a lot of people do that anyway.
Yep.
But I think I went to see him, visited him at the hospital maybe 2 or 3 times only. But I guess for me that was tough somehow, because that's when you feel like this is reality, if you know what I mean. If you hear about a friend that has cancer or is like sick, you don't really realize it until you see that person. And when you see that person, then it's harder than you, and that's very egoistic, I think, to just maybe not go and visit him more because you feel bad about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I guess it's very human as well. But yeah, it's such a weird thing.
Was there anything lyrically when you first saw the record from start to finish that surprised you, that made you go, whoa? Or most memorable moment on that album lyrically for you?
I always loved the song "The Passing Light of Day," the last one, the very long one, because when he starts singing about his wife and that he's dying, and he's it's basically like a love declaration to his wife. But I felt like I could easily move that away, or just change the protagonist to, or is it antagonist? Well, the other person anyway. To like someone close in my family, like my grandfather, for instance, which is always like a big hero for me. And he's old, and I know he's 91 years old, so he could die any day. So I guess I always think about, when I listen to the lyrics, I always think about my own relatives, my own family. And and I think what I was thinking is not me being the one dying, but my grandfather, for instance, being on his deathbed, telling us goodbye. And also that always makes me think that when that day is going to happen, I probably won't be able to be there because I live 2,000 miles away. And if he dies like in the middle of the night or something, and I'm going to get a call the day after, and that's it, and it's nothing I can do about it. So that's something that's a bit tough for me. So these specific lyrics were always like very touching for me, and I think everybody can recognize themselves in this song specifically somehow. I feel like, remember, you guys were very touched by it as well, right?
Yeah.
I was touched by the entire album, basically.
Yeah.
It was just a very, you really struggle for the word, because, I've had a lot of death in my life of people close to you and whatever. And that's something that I get obsessive. I start wondering, what were they thinking? What was going through their minds? That type of thing. And so that's why the album was so important to me, was that it kind of helped me see things from their perspective. So, and of course the other part is that he made it, and it's like, oh, it's being able to be that honest about the ultimate negative subject.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, especially us as Christians, at the same time, like he kind of rose from the dead.
Yeah.
That was that's why the record was just so special to me, personally, was that that type of honesty but just the excellence in the musicianship from start to finish, like we're kind of heavily focused on the lyrics, but the musicianship and whether or not, how much of it you wrote, I mean, everybody just did their role.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Kind of to perfection on that. There was no weak link on that. It was just a special record, I think, that, I don't think we're probably ever going to hear. We're probably listening to another 5,000-10,000 songs before this is over, and hundreds of other records, but I don't think we're going to ever hear something like that again.
Right. Yeah, it was quite a journey.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So how do you feel being part of such a really, really special record? Like, I'm sure that was a special record, like all-time special record. So how do you feel being a part of that?
It's unbelievable somehow, and even though I've been in the band for 12 years now, I still have sometimes that like fan feeling that I used to have, especially when we play. So I always feel, it's a little bit different actually, to be honest, with the songs I've recorded myself. But with the old songs that I used to listen as a kid, when I play them live, I always like, I'm trying to put myself back in this through the eyes of the young me, being like, do you realize what you're doing right now? Because sometimes life is like, you're bored or you're sad or you're like, everything is boring. But then I'm like, I need to remember that what I'm doing right now is extraordinary for me. And, as a kid, I would never have dreamt about that being possible.
Yeah.
So I need to be thankful about the luck I got, even though, as you said, luck is only one part of the thing. I was prepared for my luck to happen, but I need to be grateful and thankful. So then, sometimes I even get like, I wouldn't say a cry on stage, but I get, like a little bit of tear in my eyes, like, woohoo, and I love that. It's, for me, it's the importance of the emotion that you have to first receive from the music and then give back to the audience. So being on that album, it's so weird because sometimes I listen to it and I'm like, I don't even realize it's me playing on it somehow. I feel like it's too good to be for me to be part of it somehow. Not to think about myself, but it's always, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I feel like this is real music, this is real bands and real productions, and I feel like I've never been part of that, which is stupid because I've been part of it now for quite a few years. But I don't know, it's still, I guess it's an amazing feeling. I love the fact that I am on this album, and I've been, I think it's one of our strongest albums as well. We have quite a few in the past that the fans' favorites are always Remedy Lane and The Perfect Element. Probably heard the names maybe in the comments or people requesting them. But those two albums, were like the stepping stones of Pain and Salvation. Fans are always talking about these albums like being the best ones ever in, every categories, in every band, and for us as well. But Passing Light of Day, maybe while it didn't dethrone these albums from the old fans' minds, it's still, like it's not far away from it. So I'm also grateful that I get to be on an album that maybe, will last the years and time.
Well, yeah, I think 20 years from now,
it's still gonna be
that
relevant.
record is gonna be. That's gonna be a standalone record by itself.
Yeah.
Do you have a?
I have to
clear it. Okay.
Yeah.
Technical problems. We'll fix
but
it.
that's okay.
All right.
Also, the album cover, is that people that like, is that somebody's kid or is that like?
Yeah. It's Daniel's. It's Daniel's back and Daniel's son. His second son. He has 3 sons.
That picture, I think, is such a cool looking picture, man. That's crazy.
That's an amazing picture. I assume Daniel in his
not me, because he looks kind of Viking-ish, the person, like. And Daniel, when I picture, I don't know, I actually still to this moment don't know what Daniel
doesn't
looks
he have
like.
a bandmate named Ragnar?
Well, no,
well, we used to, yeah. He was the one co-writing the music.
Yeah,
I know, but I didn't picture, and I just pictured, for some reason in my mind, Daniel was like very, very small. But that is such a cool picture. I really, really. What is that symbol on the back? Do you know? Oh,
it's a sun.
It's probably just a sun.
It's
Yeah,
it's just a sun. Yeah, but you know, he used to be before the accident. Before being sick, he was just a regular dude. You know, he would not work out. He would eat junk, and he would. I mean, it was never a regular dude like that. But I mean, physically. But then after that, when he survived, he started working out, and you know, that's what I mean. When you see on the picture, he looks like very good. It was probably at its best right there. It's like very beefy, and you know, like just very little amount of fat on the body.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
So,
We're doing the same.
We're trying.
We're trying. Oh, I missed. We skipped the gym today to talk to you. So.
I'm sorry about it.
That's how special you are.
Yep.
I looked at Sori. I was like, wow, man! Thank you so much for hanging out with us and spending all this time. And tell your fans something about you or the band that you think is maybe the biggest misconception.
I think probably everybody thinks that Daniel is super effective, super good at everything, and you know, that is like fixing things up in no time, and that, you know, he's like a machine in many aspects. That's probably the biggest misconception about Pain and Salvation. He's a true artist, you know, in a large sense of the word, meaning that if he needs 2 years to write one song, it will take 2 years to write one song.
Wow.
And so I think our record label is, you know, almost desperate about this, because they always give us deadlines and we never respect them. But you know, and not by a day or two. It's like we're talking 6 months or a year, sometimes more than that. Because for the simple reason that if he's not satisfied about a single detail of, you know, the whole thing, then he's not going to approve it, and then we're gonna, you know, spend more time just fixing things. Like I remember once I was at some point I was living at his home, at his place, because I was long story anyway. So I was living at their place with his wife and him and his kids for like a few months, and I had a gig in one of these ski resorts that I'm doing right now. So, and he was mixing, I think he was, or preparing the mix for the passing night of day. And I remember I was in my room and I heard, you know, he was like playing in a loop maybe of 2 bars for maybe 3 hours. And I was like, what the hell is he doing? And, you know, just listening to something, and he was like fixing back and forth. And then I went away for a week. And when I came back, the week after, he was still listening to that same loop, fixing the same thing. So
wow.
In his genius, he's very ineffective, because, you know, his ADDs, you know, forces him to focus on things maybe that only him sees, but, you know, that's still important. And I guess in the end, it matters, because, you know, the quality is there, and maybe, you know, most people don't hear these few details, but I don't know.
He does.
I guess, yeah, he does, and some people do, and so I guess in the end, it's still important. So.
Mm-hmm. Wow, well, that's interesting.
Good Lord. Leo from Pain and Salvation, y'all. Are you guys touring in America? We have to see you.
You know what? We have this cruise to the Edge in March. But that's just a one-off, you know, and it's not even in the States. It's on a boat from the States and back to the States. But then we have a festival, Prog Power USA in Atlanta in September. So I suppose that after that we're gonna do a tour, since we need visas, working visas that are super expensive, and we need plane tickets and everything. So it would be stupid not to do a few gigs at least.
Right.
So I know that the East Coast of the States is usually where we're touring. So you guys are in Maine, right? So
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
so
we're going?
Yeah, he already said he'd hook us up.
No
Yeah, sure.
way!
Of course.
Of course!
As soon as you're okay to travel to maybe Quebec or New York or
Yeah.
I don't know what's the closest for you guys, but we're choose to pick the place and I will sort it out.
Oh,
It's not an issue.
yeah, I know. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you that. That's very exciting.
This is
That's how I
our
start.
problem, Leo, is communication. The band with the record of 2019.
I know.
We get an
I
invitation. I'm
know.
just, thank you for telling me,
know.
Leo. I appreciate you.
You know what? I told you guys on YouTube. I commented on the passing live video saying that pick the place and I will,
That's
I will
true. Yeah, you should
so-
have read the comment section.
You're supposed to take my side, Leo.
No, he's on the side of truth.
I am on the side of justice and everybody.
Oh man, so we're actually gonna.
Oh man, I
Man.
cannot wait.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be really special. That's
Yeah.
gonna be special.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Hey, Leo from Pain of Salvation, y'all. What an amazing. So you kind of gave us a hint. You're working on another record.
Yep.
I'm sure Daniel is listening to probably 2 bars right now at an infinite loop. How long do you think it'll be before we get to hear that?
So in theory, we were supposed to mix the album in November and release it in February, I think, or March. But as for now, I think we have only 3 or 4 songs ready. So there's probably like 8 or 9 to go. I mean, I don't remember the exact number, and I don't remember if we're going to use all the songs or less. But I think hopefully we're talking about the release in summertime, or I know usually record labels don't like to release anything in summertime, so maybe September. So maybe that's the perfect opportunity to tour the States as well if we're releasing the album in September, doing the festival gig, and then starting the tour there.
Excellent.
Why don't they like to release in the summer?
Yeah, it's really.
I'm not sure. I think it's because they think that people don't buy any record in the summer. But in my humble opinion, nobody buys no record at no time anyway.
Yeah.
People scream, and the fans who want to buy the album, they will buy it regardless if it's January or September or June. So I don't really know what's the trend out there, but
people looking at numbers and not understanding how rock and roll works.
Yep.
Not understanding fans and how we think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit absurd for me, but they decide, so we just have to.
Yeah, they're the boss, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, man. I really, 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 really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for this interview.
Yeah, this is
thank
great.
you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna do the out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Vin out.
Sorry, out.
Leo out.
Gone.
Also, Leo, can you say like a thank you to that Alan guy that paid for that whole record to be done? I think he'd really
like that. You know what? I contacted him as well after.
You did?
Yeah. I also told him I would invite him to any gigs he wants to come to.
Oh, that's
wow,
so cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really, really good. He deserves it, man.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's from Romania, so that's a shame. We were supposed to have a gig in Romania this summer, but our keyboardist can make it. So unfortunately, well. But I mean, we play.
I play keyboard.
You do not. You do no such thing.
Keyboard at all. Hey,
keyboard is not even a real instrument anyway. Right? Keyboard is not even a real instrument anyway. You can have it
real. Not even real.
Nobody plays. Just press play and just pretend like.
You just program it.
Just make it look like you're
like the dude from Rammstein. Just sit there.
Oh man.
Just have to move your fingers in time and you're good.
Yeah. Wow. I'm really glad you reached out to him. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Great.
I could say a word for him now as well if you want, guys. That's not a problem.
If you don't mind, then I'll put it up on Patreon so everybody will kind of see his.
All right.
They'll be jealous.
Yep.
So let's do it. Hi, this is Leo from Pain and Salvation, and I want to personally thank Alan for, paying for us to be promoted by Vin and Sori, and I think they're very happy as well that you made them discover our latest album. So thank you very much for that. And as I told you online, hopefully we can meet next time we play in Romania. So you just contact me and I will sort out tickets for you. Thank you, man.
That's great. That is great.
That's really good.
Yes, that is
Gonna love
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
He's gonna love that. Why are you so generous with your fans? Like that's like we've met a lot of bands since we started the channel, and people are generally good, but you're kind of over the top generous. Is it because you still feel like a fan yourself?
I think I understand what the fans are thinking.
Yeah.
And how they feel about that. And for me, it doesn't cost me anything for 5 seconds of my time to just be generous, like, and it's not even, I don't know. I think it's just the least I can do for especially fans like that are really like, devoted to help us being, reached out to the stars. So
Yeah.
so no, I feel like it's just normal, and I feel like more people should do that, especially in when with the internet, it's so easy to reach out to people. And I think the rock star barrier is not existing anymore. Like this filter, because now you have your pictures of your cats on Instagram, and you have no privacy anymore. So the rock star myth is not existing anymore. And I mean, I have another job, still a musician's job, but it's, I'm not a full-time rock star. I don't drive a Ferrari. I don't live in a castle. So I feel like I'm just another dude that's been, lucky enough to do what he likes. So I feel like I should give back to the fans as much as I can.
Wow. That's awesome.
Awesome. This is a great interview.
Yeah.
This is great.
I'm glad we could make it happen. There was like so many things that kept coming up. I'm like, when we missed the first interview, I'm like, I can't believe this. This makes us look so ungrateful.
We were in the gym.
Yes.
And she's like, fuck. I was like, what happened? I thought she pulled a muscle or something.
I was like, that interview, we're supposed to be at an interview.
Oh no.
You know what? It's not a problem. I was at home, and I was just back from a week of these après-ski gigs, and after a 10-hour drive, and I was knackered myself. I was like, oh, let's do the interview now. And so I was almost happy it didn't happen. So don't worry about it.
Okay,
Good. I almost canceled it this morning. I said, Vin had a work emergency. I don't know if we're going to have to cancel.
No.
But then I'm like, I said, he's a soldier. He'd rather just work through stuff. So
no.
Anyway, so glad. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
You're welcome, guys.
I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, it's pretty much over. It's 9:00. So maybe the rest of the guys are out, with this trio, this cover band trio I'm playing with, which is my main job really. And then they're out having a couple of glasses of wine. So maybe I will join them. We'll see.
Yeah.
9:00. I feel like going to bed already.
You deserve it. All right, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Bye.
Have a good day, and let's keep in touch for next time we're close to you.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
For sure.
All right. All right, cool. See ya.
Bye.